Real quick little video for you here today. I wanted to show you where we're at. We're at the Anderson historical. It was a ranch homestead. It's right where you see that overpass. That's where Cache Creek is flowing out of the bottom of Clear Lake, California. Before this was historic for human settlement, this Anderson Marsh that we're at and the surrounding hills. The archaeologists and anthropologists here have found materials belonging to the indigenous people that date back to, well, let's say, some of the longest continuous existence in the United States. So instead of a good spot being inhabited by one people and then a gap in time in the sediment layers and debris layers and then another people, this has proof and evidence that they've found that one entire people stayed here the whole time, and for, I think they said, 13,000 years. So as far as the northern North America, this is one of the longest inhabited continuously sites that they've found. We're here to take a quick check on this place. Yeah, it was a site where there was a huge old house that had sat forever until a recent fire, and now this is what's left. But I wanted to show you some of the cool, look at the size of this oak. Okay, it's got to be one of the oldest oaks that you'll ever see. It's dead and burnt now. That's its hollow inside. There's its top. But that thing is just massive. I mean, massive. And I ran into a guy who used to live here when he was a boy. And he said that in the basement of it was an old bar that had been from even before Prohibition. But during Prohibition it had been what you might call a speakeasy, but it was so far out that it was just kind of where the local boys, even the law, would come and drink and gamble and stuff. And he said, I said, well, it looks like the only hill sticking up out here, you know, perfect for people to live on. And he said, yeah, I'm sure it was an Indian mound before that. And he reached down and picked up a couple of arrowheads just right at our feet. So the whole thing is littered, and it's outside of a historical preserve. It just belongs to a private person, and now it's burnt. But anyhow, cool little site. Just wanted to stop and check it out real quick. When you start to look at the base of some of these oak trees here, it's ridiculous. They're bigger around than a lot of the sequoias here. Look at this one. Okay. That's a fence line. That's a big sign. Look at the cabin. Excuse the car. The cabin and the tree. Get the relative size of the two. That's ridiculous, right? And there's more all out in this field. Some of the biggest oaks I've seen in California. I don't know if getting up next to this thing is even going to be able to explain its size. It's ridiculous, okay? It's huge. It's a piece of its bark that's laying there, as big as my truck. How freaking huge this is. Okay, there's my little old hand. Anyhow, here's my little foot. That's just a crack of its hole. entire size. Massive, right? But look at this piece of bark. Yeah, that's a piece of bark. It's like a boat. I mean, holy moly, man, you could land that. Look at this living one next to it. These are massive. The trunk on that is as thick as my truck, I'm not joking. Right there, that's like a Ford Ranger. That's what you're looking at. There's just a few of these giganteas out here. These are just babies in clumps everywhere. They're not really about tall when they're old. They're about huge around. They've grown and snapped off and grown and snapped off and just gotten huge at the bases. Look at these. These are on the same slope of this hill here. This old Indian mound. Look at the size of this. I want you to look around at the trees in the forest that you're in and see that most of them are going to be at the oldest 90 years old. Very rarely do you see huge chunks of any species of tree anywhere in the world. Even though you see groves of trees, I want you to go out and look at them and notice that 90% of them on the planet are young, regrowing from some harvest. These are hundreds and hundreds of years old. They saw everything that went down on this hill. In front of this hill, it's Clear Lake out here. The Anderson Marsh Historic Site and the homestead. So, just wanted you to see these old giants. Chunk of bark. You see the ones on the hill are all dead from the fire damage where the structures were. Two stories. I don't think I'm dressed for this, folks. Knee deep out here. I think we're gonna just call this guy good enough.